Hi, do you want to learn Japanese fast? You do want to study Japanese but you don't have time to sit down and study? Are you struggling to speak Japanese even though you know the grammar and vocab? Well, most of my students had the same problem. So I created a grammar shadowing audio course which you can listen to it anywhere while doing anything.
Try out my audio course for free. The link is down below. Thank you.
Hi 皆さん、こんにちは。Today we are gonna learn すればするほど。OK、じゃあまずスキットを見てください。ねえ聞いて、今日田中さんに初めて褒められた。田中さんに？珍しいね。田中さん厳しいからめったに褒めないよ。そう？厳しいかな？私は優しいと思う。ねえ、ずっと聞きたかったんだけど、ミクって田中さんのこと好き？え？そんなことないよ。ミクってほんとわかりやすいね。顔に好きって書いてあるよ。バレてたんだ。うん、ずっと前から気づいてたよ。田中さんのどんなとこが好きなの？全部かな。知れば知るほど好きになる。そうなんだ。気持ち伝えないの？そんなことできるわけないじゃん。え、さきならそうする？私ならご飯に誘おうかな。じゃあ誘ってみようかな。あ、田中さん。ミク、田中さんに聞きたいことあるって言ってなかったっけ？おう、どうしたの？明日の会議のことでちょっと聞きたいことがあるんですけど。Okay, so basically, ばほど sentence pattern is like, the more I do this, the more blah blah. So in the skit, I said, 知れば知るほど好きになる。知れば知るほど好きになる。So I was talking about how I feel about someone. 知れば知るほど好きになる。It means the more I know about him, the more I fall in love with him, or the more I like him. So we use this conditional form, ば form for this sentence pattern. For those of you who don't know ば form or who forgot about this, I'm gonna explain a little bit, but if you know it, you can just skip this part. But in order to conjugate a verb into ば form, you just change the sound of the last letter of the dictionary form into a sound and you add ば. For example, 食べる, the last letter has る, which has う sound. So you change this う into い. So you change it into れ and you add ば. So it's 食べれば. 食べれば. And it's the same for all verbs, whether it's one group or two group or three group verb. So for example, what's the ば form of 行く? 皆さん? It's 行けば. 行けば. So you just change く u sound into a sound, which is け and you add ば. 行けば. So what's the ば form of 勉強する? 皆さん? It's 勉強すれば. 勉強すれば. Easy, right? Okay, so the sentence pattern is ば form of the verb plus dictionary form of the verb plus ほど something. So for example, as for kanji, talking about kanji, the more you write them, the better you get はなんて言うと思う? Okay, so first, what's the ば form of to write? 書く? 皆さん? It's 書けば. 書けば, right? So you change く into け and you add ば. 書けば. Okay, so let's try. How do you think you can say, as for kanji, the more you write them, the better you get? 皆さん? It's 漢字は書けば書くほど上手になる。漢字は書けば書くほど上手になる。So, 上手になる is to get better, right? So, 書けば ば form, 書く dictionary form, ほど上手になる。Okay, so some of you guys might have said もっと上手になる in order to say to get better. But when you use this sentence pattern, もっと more is implied. So you can just say 漢字は書けば書くほど上手になる. You don't have to say もっと上手になる. Okay, so we often use this sentence pattern ばほど with なる which means to become. Like 知れば知るほど好きになる. So to make sure you know how to use this なる when it's な adjective, it's になる. Like 上手になる. right? But when it's E adjective, it's different, right? Do you remember it? How do you say, for example, it becomes interesting, 皆さん? It's 面白くなる. So, 面白い is interesting and you just drop E and add くなる. 面白くなる. Okay, so for example, how do you think you can say, talking about history, as for history, the more you know it, the more interesting it gets. 皆さん? Do you know how to say history? It's 歴史. 歴史. So how do you say, talking about history, the more you know it, the more interesting it gets. It's 歴史は知れば知るほど面白くなる。歴史は知れば知るほど面白くなる。Okay, so actually this is one of the most common mistakes that Japanese students make. So please make sure when it's na adjective, it's ni naru, and when it's e adjective, you drop e and add くなる. Like 美味しくなる、楽しくなる、面白くなる, etc. Okay, another example. How do you think you can say, the more I think about it, the more confused I get? So do you know how to say to think, 皆さん? To think. It's 考える. 考える. So actually there are two verbs to say to think. It's 思う and 考える. And we use 思う to tell our opinions, right? Like for example, I think Japan is safe. 日本は安全だと思う. But 考える is more like this. This is 考える, okay? And how do you say to get confused? 皆さん? Do you know that? It's わからなくなる。わからなくなる。Okay, so わからない means I don't understand or I don't know, right? And here you omit e and add くなる。わからなくなる。わからなくなる。So like I said, くなる means to become, right? And this is off topic, but it's actually very, very important one. So I'm gonna explain. So whenever you become not being able to do something, you can use this sentence pattern. For example, if I start thinking about universe, I become not able to sleep or I cannot sleep, you can say, 宇宙のことを考え始めると眠れなくなる。宇宙のことを考え始めると眠れなくなる。Okay, so we use this なくなる to say I become not being able to do something. 例えば、前はこのドレスが着られたのに太って今は着られない。I would say ドレスが着られなくなった。ドレスが着られなくなった。Or for example, 前は漢字が書けたのに今は書けない。What can you say in this situation? It's 漢字が書けなくなった。漢字が書けなくなった。So 書けない is cannot write and you drop e and add くなった。書けなくなった。We usually use ない form of potential form like 書けない and you drop e and add くなった。書けなくなった。And わからなくなった is the same sentence pattern. Okay, so when you want to say I get confused, you can say わからなくなる。Okay, so coming back to the sentence, how do you say the more I think about it, the more confused I get? Using 考える and わからなくなる。皆さん It's 考えれば考えるほどわからなくなる。考えれば考えるほどわからなくなる。Okay, another example. How do you say the more you practice, the faster you improve? The more you practice, the faster you improve. Do you know how to say to improve fast, 皆さん? It's 早く上達する。早く上達する。So 早く fast and 上達する is something improves. So you improve is 上達する。Okay, so how do you think you can say the more you practice, the faster you improve? It's 練習すればするほど 早く上達する。Okay, here you might have said 練習すれば練習するほど早く上達する。You might have repeated 練習 twice. So whenever a verb has する, you don't have to repeat the same word. So for example, the more you study, how do you say the more you study, 皆さん? It's 勉強すればするほど. So you don't have to repeat 勉強 twice. Okay, so you can also use adjective with this sentence pattern. For example, how do you say the earlier, the better? How do you think you can say it? It's 早ければ早いほどいい。早ければ早いほどいい。So for example, 外国語の勉強を始めるのは早ければ早いほどいい。外国語の勉強を始めるのは早ければ早いほどいい。So 早い is an e adjective, and when it's an e adjective, you can omit e and add ければ. So it's 早ければ早ければ. For example, how do you say the cheaper, the better? How do you think you can say it? It's 安ければ安いほどいい。For example, 手数料は安ければ安いほどいい。And when it's not adjective, it's totally different, so please pay attention here. So when it's not adjective, we use なら. So for example, コンサートは賑やかなら賑やかなほど楽しい。コンサートは賑やかなら賑やかなほど楽しい。So you add なら after an adjective. 賑やかなら and you say 賑やかなほど. So you need な at the end as well. For example, how do you say as for sashimi? Sashimi is raw fish. As for sashimi, the fresher, the more delicious, or the better. Do you know how to say fresh, 皆さん? It's 新鮮 新鮮 and it's a na adjective. So how do you say as for sashimi, the fresher, the better? It's 刺身は新鮮なら新鮮なほど美味しい。刺身は新鮮なら新鮮なほど美味しい。Okay, so we sometimes use e adjective and na adjective with this sentence pattern, but ほど, but I would say that we use more verbs with this sentence pattern. And a little bonus for you is that we often use this sentence pattern with ようとする。ようとする which means to try to do something. For example, 眠ろうとすればするほど眠れなくなる。眠ろうとすればするほど眠れなくなる。Okay, so 眠ろう is the volitional form, like let's do form of the verb. And this 眠ろうとする means to try to sleep or try to fall asleep. And you change it into 眠ろうとすればするほど. And like I explained before, this 眠れなくなる I become unable to sleep. And a little information about the difference between 寝る and 眠る is that 寝る is to go to bed. So when you want to say, I'm gonna go to bed, you would say 寝る And 眠る is actually to fall asleep and you have no consciousness. So when you try to sleep, it's like you are actually trying to fall asleep, try to lose consciousness. In this case, when you want to say try to sleep, 眠る is more accurate because you are trying to fall asleep. So when you want to say, the more I try to do this, blah blah, you can use volitional form, let's form, plus とすればするほど. So memorize this as a set phrase. And another little bonus, if you want to say, the more I try not to do something, blah blah blah, you can use ない form of the verb plus ようにしようとすればするほど. Okay, so for example, the more I try not to eat chocolate, I end up eating. You can say, チョコを食べないようにしようとすればするほど食べてしまう。チョコを食べないようにしようとすればするほど食べてしまう。Or for example, the more I try not to look at it, the more I end up looking at it. You can say, 見ないようにしようとすればするほど見てしまう。見ないように しようとすればするほど見てしまう。Okay, so let me summarize it for you. You can use bar form of the verb plus dictionary form of the verb plus ほど to say the more I do this, the more blah blah blah. And when it's an adjective, you omit e and add ければ like 早ければ and 早いほど。早ければ早いほどいい for example. And if it's non-adjective, it's completely different, so please be careful. It's ならなほど like 刺身は新鮮なら新鮮なほど美味しい。And when you want to say, the more I try to do something, blah blah blah, it's positional form of the verb plus とすればするほど like 眠ろうとすればするほど眠れなくなる。And when you want to say, the more I try not to do something, I end up doing something, it's ない form of the verb plus ようにしようとすればするほど like for example, チョコを食べないようにしようとすればするほど I end up eating 食べてしまう。Okay, I hope you understood it well, and this sentence pattern is quite advanced level, so if you use it, you sound like really like advanced, so try using it. 最初は難しいかもしれないけど、練習すればするほど簡単になるから、ぜひ使ってみてください。Okay, 皆さん、I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, please hit the like button. And if you like to improve your Japanese fast, but you don't really have time to study, or you simply don't like to sit down and study with a textbook, please check out my shadowing audio product. Here is what people who use this course say.
So I've been using Miku's Real Japanese products for a couple of months now, and they are incredible. So I had no idea how beneficial it was to be speaking and saying out loud Japanese words and sentences until I started listening to a shadowing audio on the way to work. And while I do get a few funny looks on the train for whispering some Japanese phrases, I actually have, my progress has shot up crazy amounts. If you are looking for a way to improve your Japanese, I'd 100% recommend looking into Sensei Miku's products, and honestly, she's so lovely and you will not be disappointed.
I've been traveling to Japan for over 20 years. I've lived there for 4 years. I'm currently the president of our Japan office. One thing I really like and appreciate, and has helped me personally, is in every audio she goes beyond just the pure lesson. She expands upon the concepts and the vocabulary, giving you background information. This truly has helped me to remember the lesson better. And more importantly, it's been really overall a fun and enjoyable experience. Of all the lessons that I've taken over the years, Miku Sensei's practical approach to teaching has really finally helped me to understand the everyday Japanese that people speak 80% of the time.
Okay, so if you really want to improve your Japanese fast and save a lot of time while self-studying Japanese, please check it out. The link is in that description box. I put a lot of love and my passion to teach Japanese into this course, and it took me thousands of hours to create this course. So I hope it's gonna help you to express yourself in Japanese, and most importantly, I hope it's gonna help you to connect with your friends in Japanese. Okay, so see you in the next video. またね。見てくれてありがとう。